Today I'm making a set of 4 clean and simple cards using only cardstock. Hey, it's Beth. Welcome. Today I am participating in the Take 2 challenge with the 12x12 Cardstock shop. And so basically what this is we take a previous project created by a design team member and we recreate it kind of in our own way. So I am recreating these. It's a set of 4 cards and it uses 4 different colors of cardstock. This is from the blog and it's easy card making template, makes 4 cards at once. So that is what I'm going to be working with. And I have a variety of colors from the Encore cardstock. So I am going to be using 4 of them for the card, and then the other colors will be for my die cut embellishments. So that is what we are going to be working with today. So let's go ahead and get into our recreation of that set of 4 cards. Here are the 4 colors that I'm using. I chose to go with pastels. I was feeling like spring vibes with this one, and I will link all of the colors, the Encore colors that I'm using, in the description box below. But I'm just following the instructions in the blog post, which will also be linked in the description box. And so I'm starting out by cutting each of the colors into a 3 3/4 inch by 5 inch panel. And then this will be kind of like the starting base for all of our triangles. And then from that point, once I get all of these larger rectangles cut, I'm going to take each one of them and cut them in half on the long side. So I'm going to end up with 2 pieces from each color that are 2.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. So it's just like 2 smaller rectangles from each color. And I'm creating a pile, like 1 color of each, like in each pile. And then the blog post instructions recommend cutting all 4 of these at the same time. So if you have a guillotine trimmer, you could totally do that. With my slide trimmer, I had to cut it in half because with the thickness of the paper and then all 4 together, I couldn't do it. But basically, I'm just taking 2 opposite ends of the rectangles and lining them up in the channel of my trimmer. And then I start my blade in the center of the paper and then go up and down, and this kind of protects the corners, like those rectangle corner tips, from getting bent. So now you have 4 different piles of rectangles. And then I'm going to take this blue one and I'm going to line it up so that it kind of creates a right angle with the bottom left side of the card. I'm going to use my next color kind of lined up there to create a rectangle, and then I'm going to repeat the process. And you can put the colors in any order that you want. You could even just use 2 colors. You could use patterned paper. I think this would be a great project for scraps, so that's something to think about. So I did a kind of dry fit before, and now that I know how everything's going to be laid out, I've actually added my glue, and then I'm just making sure my spacing is even on the bottom of that, or with that blue triangle first, and then we'll line up all the triangles based off of that. I also think it might be pretty if you started, from that point on the left and used maybe Love from Lizzie strips to separate all of your triangles, kind of give it a little bit, I guess accentuate kind of the sunburst look of it. But then once we get this final piece down, kind of completes our card panel. And then I'm going to do this 3 more times and kind of change up how, the order that I put the colors. So here are my 4 cards, and you can see I've kind of changed up the order so they all look a little bit different. And now that the base is done, I can add my embellishments. So I took the yellow cardstock and used 4 different flower die sets from my stash that I haven't played with in a while, and just created some layered flowers with white center. And then I'm going to adhere these down on the left side, covering, you know, where all of those 4 triangles like intersect. So this is kind of the point of the sunburst, I guess. And you could use any shape here. I just, again, going with that spring vibe, chose to go with some flowers, and I thought the yellow would kind of pop off. And again, just kind of create that, you know, the spring flower look. So we'll get this last one down. And then for my sentiment, I have some thanks sentiments that were already stamped and in my sentiment stash. I'm not even sure where they are from. But I'm going to be adding those down in the bottom right-hand corner. And so I'm going to add a fishtail onto the left-hand side of each of these sentiments. And we'll be able to line them up at the bottom of my card. There's just a lot of variations you could do with this card, and in the blog post they give you a ton more examples too, so be sure to check that out for like the original instructions and Kate, the original creator. So we'll adhere these down, and then I decided that they needed a little bit something more, and so I'm going to be using some of the like scrap white cardstock and adding some punched circles to kind of embellish. Again, you could use anything here. Flower, like tiny flowers would have been pretty too, going with the floral vibe. You could use enamel dots, Nouveau drops, stickles, kind of creating your own. But I just kept it simple, and I'm going to punch 3 small circles and then just kind of scatter them around the larger flower, and it just adds like a little, kind of breaks up the solid cardstock a little bit. So I did that for all 4. So then here's a look at my 4 cards versus the original inspiration. Again, please be sure to check the description box for the links to the blog post and the cardstock products. Thank you so much for your time today, and hope you all have a very crafty day.